and that after they go to Washington, D.C., that they actually come back and they understand that they're representing the people from our neighborhood and community. And Congressman Grijalva is one of those few elected officials who has been doing that year after year. So without further ado, thank you so much, Congressman Grijalva.
There's another thing that I find, especially right now in these times, that I find really hypocritical on the part of members of Congress, my colleagues. That at a time when they're talking about budgets that are basically going to hurt veterans, and I never use the term homeless veterans because I think that's a phrase that shouldn't exist, but what's going to hurt people that need support. It's going to hurt people that depend on things like Medicaid, Medicare, housing vouchers, transitional housing, organizations like Primavera that provide support services, everything from counseling to placement to shelter. At a time when these very valuable programs are going to be cut, we had one of the new members complain because he had to wait till the day he got sworn in on January 3rd before his Cadillac health insurance that we all received kicked in. He complained about it. Why am I waiting 30 days? And when you find out that there's people in this country, almost 50 million, that are waiting every day to get their health insurance. And that's part of the hypocrisy. I think one of the reasons that I do the job that I do is I think because when I come to these meetings like with you, people really do have opinions. They're living real lives. And the decisions that are made over here in Washington or in Phoenix affect you in a very direct way, and nobody asks. And then what happens is, oh, that's a consequence. We didn't know. It's an unintended consequence is the word they use. No sabíamos que iba a pasar esto. And so what happens is that consequence ends up affecting lives. Unintended. For instance, this budget that the House of Representatives passed, the Ryan budget, is going to leave 161,000 people, just the first year, people that happen to be veterans, with no access to any transitional housing or shelter. It is going to defund counseling programs. And for Medicaid, it's going to give the money to the state for them to decide how they want to give out the money. I worry particularly in Medicaid and Medicare, persons with disabilities who have to depend on that. And Medicare, what they want to do with that is make it a voucher program. You'll get a coupon if their plan goes through, and we're doing all we can to make sure it doesn't go through. And we're going to hold our president. I love him to death. He said, if it comes this way, I'm going to veto it. We're going to hold him to that. We're going to hold him to that. Because a voucher program, it's like you're rationing down healthcare. And so if you happen to be a working family that isn't quite middle class, and you're aspiring to be middle class, if you're a working person, you're part of the working poor, or you don't have a job, they're going to give you a coupon for all everybody. And you're going to go to the insurance, then you're going to go shop among insurance companies. The problem with this coupon is that it's capped. It's capped. So let's say you have a pre-existing condition, a continuing issue, health issue. It's capped. So insurance company X, let's say it's HealthNet or something, says, we can only cover you up to this point.
They're already doing that.
They're already rationing out health care. So the rest of it, where's it going to come from? the expectation is it'll come out of your pocket. And if you don't have deep pockets, and not many people do right now in these times, then you're gonna have to go without, or you're gonna have to settle for less.
Most
And
of the time
that's-
it's going without right now.
Yep. So we're gonna fight this budget because of what it does. What it does to Social Security, what it does to Medicare, what it does to Medicaid, and what it does to the support system for the people that need help. Like you said, you know, that I come here, the way I grew up is that we all share with each other. But by that I mean, if your neighbor's hurting, you gotta kick in a little bit and help the neighbor. Because you might be in that position too, and somebody's gonna kick in and help you. If you are a person that this country is kind of built on not throwing people on the heap, that we care for the most vulnerable in our community, and that we try to support them and give them some quality of life help. So we're gonna fight for a quality of life budget. Let me tell you what we're pushing on the Senate, even though we lost in the House, and then we're gonna push on the President. We have a deficit in this country, and I don't think we should ignore it. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to have this huge debt either. So it's not if you do something about a deficit, it's how. And our fight's about how. The budget, the Ryan budget, the how, where they get the money is off discretionary programs, which means the programs that we all depend on. Where do they get the money? They get it out of Medicare. Where do they get the money? They get it out of Medicaid. Where do they get the money? Out of $558 million cut from the Department of Labor that has job training, emergency housing, counseling, from the Department of HUD. That's where they get it. And it's only 4% of the whole federal budget. You're not gonna take care of the deficit doing that. You're gonna make the economic situation in this country even worse than it is. Because you're gonna cut people that are working, and you're gonna make it harder for people to be able to find a job. So what we suggested is, we need to fix this problem. And we're asking that these things be on the table. We take care of Social Security. Don't mess with it. It's got 75 years. We should probably raise the income cap so that the people that make more pay more in. And that would be a fix. That would give us about another 15 years of life without ever having to worry about the next person not being able to get their benefit check. And with SSI, with Social Security, when 15 to 16% of the people on Social Security are children, when 11 to 12% are persons with disability, raising that cap is not a bad idea. And so we're going to say we can keep social, and we're also saying leave Medicare alone. Don't turn it into a rationed health program. And what's ugly about rationing health, because it's going to be based on income. Medicare was never based. So the more you have, the better health care you're going to get. And Medicare is the only program that spreads that attention to everybody. And now, the way the proposal is to save money, we're going to base it on income. And that's what it is, actually. Because most people on Medicare are on fixed income, and they're not going to be able to dig in their back pocket and come up with the extra $8,000 to take care of whatever need it is. So you're going to hurt people. And it's going to cost us more, because I know where those folk are going to go. They're going to go to the emergency room. And then the hospitals and everybody else who opposes this is going to be hurt terribly. Then the next area is Medicaid. They said leave it alone. They want us to invest in education. They want us to invest in job training. We want to do that. And they want us to make sure that we have a jobs program and that we have a strong safety net. When I say they, that is poll after poll after poll in this country from the American people saying those things we want. So you ask the American people, okay, where do you want the money? Where are we going to get the money? And they talk about that it's time that we looked at the military budget of this country and did some serious cutting in there. Weapons that were from the Korea era that we don't use or need anymore, that keep getting built. It's time we were realistic about that. They also say $40 billion a year that we give oil and gas companies and tax write-offs and subsidies, cut those out. Put it back. Put it back in the pool for the rest of us. The upper 2%, you know, if you're a millionaire, if there's anybody in the room, please raise your hand, because I don't want to insult them. But if you're a millionaire, if this budget goes through that Ryan has, next year you'll get a refund of $120,000 if you're a millionaire. So we're saying that upper 2%, all those nice breaks, put them back in the pot. We're talking about closing loopholes for corporations, and guess what? All these things I just talked about, huge percentage of the American people saying, that's where we want you to get the money. And what's happened is that everything got turned around in this country. Right now, you know, the lobbyists and the special interests, this group controls what Congress does or doesn't do. And just like people rose up and they were angry at government and they fundamentally changed who represented them in this nation, it's time to think about that again. Because what the biggest issue facing this country, it's an economy and its people right now. And everything drives everything else. And so we're going to work hard. We proposed a budget that balances us by 2021. We proposed a budget that does the cuts that need to be cut. And we proposed a budget that leaves the programs people want and need alone. And some increases in education, some huge increases in creating a jobs program, and huge job training support for people. You can't expect a person that lost their job to get up in the morning and then go be a technician at a computer place or making solar panels when it requires a certain skill if you don't give that person the opportunity to train to be able to go do that job. You can't have one without the other. And so we're going to work hard on that. We're going to press the administration to hold true to its veto. We're going to press the Senate not to give in to some of the craziness in this bill. And since the budget we supported did not pass the House, we're going to say some of the things that we wanted need to be on the table for cuts. Just as long as you have all these other things, put these things here on the table. So when you look at cutting spending, make sure all these other are there. And and if we can do that, I was telling Peggy, if we can pull that off, I'm not promising that all of a sudden there's going to be extra funds for what we need to do. I can't promise that. What we're working for is to take care of the need that's there, try to keep it level, and in some critical areas have some increases. But if we can keep it the way it is, instead of taking a 25% cut, 45% cut, in some areas 75% cut, then we're going to be able to at least hold our own. Every agency that I've been with, that I know Primavera is no exception, the demand for services has gone up and up. Whether it is for shelter, you go to the food bank, they're overwhelmed by the amount of people that are coming, families saying, you need to help me out. I can't feed my family. And these are people that are working, you know, a job at night and can't turn the corner. we really feel that all of us that are out there right now, talking with you folk, like I am today, we're gonna be able to start to turn this little puppy around. I'm always an optimist. I always think the best. And I think the best because our arguments are good. To the veterans that gave so much so that I could be up here shooting my mouth off any way I want, that I have freedom of speech, and that was defended, the dignity and respect owed to them needs to be right on the top of the list. To the most vulnerable in our community, those that are sick, disabled, babies, older, they need to be right on the top of the list. Because, and let me finish, because one of the things that I do what I do is because I was raised with the understanding that the only way we got better as a family is that everybody around us got better too. And that my dad always said, I'm gonna bust my back so that you and me and my two sisters had a better life than he did, and that my mom did. And he did it. He did it. And I don't wanna rob any other individual of that same opportunity to be able to say down the road, my kid's life, my grandkid's life is just a little bit better than mine. And that's the whole goal. The goal is not to give charity. I hate that word too. It's not about charity. This is about a shared responsibility we have as Americans to each other, a shared sacrifice that we must make in order to make sure we take care of each other, and a shared understanding that in order for this country to get out of the hole that it's in, it's going to take all of us, and nobody gets left behind. So with that, let me open it up for questions, and thank you for the time to be here. I appreciate it.
Congressman, why is it that we cannot have, because I have high blood pressure right now, and I'm under blood
I got a
pressure.
little bit myself the last few months.
But the point being is that I wish there was some way that we would not cut Social Security and access, because the thing is, I can't even get my medication for my blood pressure. And the thing is that, I mean, I'm not speaking just for myself, I'm speaking for everybody here who might be on access. And now they're gonna cut, now they're cutting, they're cutting everything. And I'm under Social Security, I can't work anymore, I'm disabled. I have arthritis on my knees and I'm borderline deaf at the same time. And it's just not right. I mean, I make $860. That's all I make for Social Security. I wish they would increase that, because if they're gonna increase the prices in this country, then why can't they increase Social Security so we can be on the level?
It was sad that there hasn't been a cost of living increase for Social Security in quite a while. And it's sad because that was one of the areas in which people are trying to save money about all the other problems with the federal budget. That was kind of, it is short-sighted. One of the things I worry about Medicaid, which turns out then becomes access when it gets to Arizona, is that they're going to give all the money to the state without any strings. It worries the hell out of me.
Right now.
About eligibility, because they get to play with it. They did already with the state. Eligibility, it becomes an offset. Because one of the things the state has to do to receive this money is they got to kick in a little bit of their own. And when you send a block grant, that they won't have that maintenance of effort requirement anymore. So whatever they put in, they're going to call it a savings. What really irritated me with this legislature, when they cut $538 million from access. So kids, people, they all got cut. Eligibility was changed. It was $280,000. I think it's $125,000 now. Whatever. And then 2 days later, they voted to give corporations a $578 million tax break. And And they got mad because I said that that was part of the plan. They said it was a coincidence. Well, it's an interesting coincidence because it's almost the same amount of money. And so they saved, so I worry about giving Medicaid to the state because it has to have strings to it. It has to have strings so we can assure that people that need it get it. And right now, Access is a waiver program, and the state keeps getting waivers on it, but they have some overriding obligation to meet some federal criteria. If we give it all to the state, then that obligation goes out the door, and then we've got only them making the decisions. And so far, them, the leadership in the state, have not been very, very good about those kinds of decisions, and I worry about it. And see, you gotta be a pain. You know, with me, you're preaching to the choir. But you gotta be a pain with every one of us that are up in DC having to make decisions. You have to let them know, you know, I'm a human being and this is how you hurt me. Because I think that you can't live in this little glass house and think that that's the world. And so the more they hear from you, the more they hear from people that have served this country, the more I hope they will come to an understanding that this budget that they're pushing is gonna cause so much pain in this nation that you won't believe it.
On that Access and the Medicaid, because they did this to me in November. I was on Access up until last November. And then they automatically dropped me off of Access and put me on Medicaid. Since November, I've been fighting for my prescriptions, oxygen, and everything else, because Access is not paying for it anymore, and neither will Medicaid. So in order for a lot of times for me to get my medications and stuff, I either have to go without it, or I have to try to find a way to get it myself. It's been, well, now the one person that I'm going through now with a specialist, he's right now trying to get most of my medications back, but I'm still having a big problem with it and stuff because of Medicaid. They don't want to pay for a lot of the pre-existing medications on pre-existing conditions. And so they're making you go through and being retested and having you reevaluated and everything else, which when they start doing all this, then it costs you a lot more because now there's more co-pays that's involved in it in order to go to different specialists.
You know, the health reform law that we passed is not my full cup of tea. I think there needed to be some competition for these companies, and there isn't any. And by that I mean either a public option or something else that would have forced these companies to deal with you honestly, because you could say, okay, the hell with you, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Right now, they kinda got you. And, you know, and Medicaid is far from being a perfect program. I'm not defending any of it. But what I am defending is the commitment to it, to providing some level of support for people through that program. Is it perfect? No. Is Medicare got all kinds of problems in terms of processing, getting things back? Yeah, I know that. And we deal with folks coming into our office every day about that. But without those programs, the hoops that you're going through, you won't have to, because there won't be no hoops. It'll be even worse than the situation you're facing. We're gonna, if the problem persists, you know, have the person you work with here call our office, and we'll see if we can bug people. Okay? Back there, you allow your staff to ask questions?
Oh. We'll see.
I work for Primavera, and I've known you. I just wanted to say, I don't think it's so much about money as ideology. And there was recently a book published called Treasure Islands, and about the trillions and trillions of dollars that are in,
Cayman Islands.
in the Cayman Islands. So there's just tons of money. But somehow the discussion, all that we hear, right, is about the deficit and we lost all this money and, you know, my goodness, we have to cut services. But so I know that that's not true, but there's nothing any of us can do about it, it seems.
Yeah, there's philosophy in what's going
And so,
on.
and then I think we'll deficit all this talk